Good afternoon, everyone. Campbell McCrary here, Amvest Capital in New York City. Welcome to the Amvest Capital Inc. live webinar with NSJ Gold Corp. NSJ trades on the CSE, Canadian Stock Exchange, as NSJ. Do hope you'll enjoy today's program. It'll be available in replay mode about an hour after this. You'll get that link in an email, and you can also just go to amvestcapital.com/replays, and it'll be up there also in about the same amount of time. Do feel free to chat in. In fact, we encourage you to send in questions. Just find your way to the question pane there and type it in. We'll ask the questions in real time. Amvest Capital, of course, is a New York-based specialist investment management and corporate finance firm focused solely on the natural resource sector. I'm very pleased to bring a new story to our community and listening audience. All important disclaimer, this call is most definitely for informational purposes only, just learning today. Very pleased to have with us today Rodney Stevens. Rodney, I'm going to make you presenter. You turn on your camera, be fantastic. VP of Corporate Development and Director of NSJ. He's a CFA charter holder and has nearly 2 decades of experience in capital markets, Solomon Partners, and Wolverton Securities. So 2 well-known names in the sector. And Audie and I have known each other 15 of those years, of those 20. And he's been instrumental in financing and M&A activity and assisting over $1 billion of transaction value, and is also well-respected analyst. So with that, I give it over to you, and please, everyone, send in your questions, and when you log out, your feedback. Rodney, put it in full screen mode, please.
Full screen, okay. Is this good?
Slideshow from the beginning, yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Can you see should I show my screen?
Yeah, you are. Just while we want to see it filling the screen.
Oh, I see it. Okay, how's that?
You're on.
Okay, thanks a lot, Campbell. Always good seeing you. And
yeah.
Back on the other side of a bull market. So yeah, good times ahead. So yeah, I've joined NSJ recently. I've known Jag, the president, for a number of years now. And this is a brand new deal recently put together. And I'll just, what I'll do is I'll go quickly through the PowerPoint presentation and open it up for questions. So NSJ Gold on the CSE, ticker NSJ, of course, and I'm going to go through forward-looking statements. I'm going to say a lot of forward-looking statements, and some may not come out to be exactly as we think. And I'm also going to say information on historical results, which means they have been, we've had some historic drilling in the past, but they haven't been independently verified, and that's part of the reason why we're conducting exploration now to verify historic work. So NSJ Resources, just quickly, NSJ Gold Corp, it has an option to acquire a 100% interest in the Golden Hills property in Arizona. It's subject to a 3% royalty, and the land package consists of 7 patented claims and 94 unpatented, and that's important because the patented claims don't require any permitting to drill. It's like they're privately owned land. And the property exists, it is located on the Walker Lane gold trend, which is prolific, and it's just south of the Moss Mine. Richard Kern is our PGO, and he's actually is credited for the discovery of Moss Mine, and he's the vendor of Golden Hills property to us as well. So yeah, he's got a track record of success. So quickly, this is where NSJ Gold the Golden Hills property is. You can see north is Northern Vertex Moss Mine, and to the south we've got Sugarloaf Peak and Copperstone Mine, very prolific belt. So we're right in a good jurisdiction. And the property payment for 100% interest is very cheap. As you can see, the first year is only $85,000, year 2, $150,000, $4.6 million total over 5 years, and it's sort of back-end loaded. That's in exploration expenditures, but cash payments are only really amounting to a couple $100,000. So it's a win-win for both the vendor and ourselves. The 3% royalty is high, but as you'll see that it's not very onerous, since we're looking at either a high-grade near surface vein scenario or a huge bulk tonnage open pit mining scenario, in which case that would be fairly minimal for the project. So this is our concession area. The red is the unpatented claims. The blue in the middle is the patented claims, and I'll go back to that later, why that's important. But yeah, in the middle where the blue is, we don't need permitting. We're going to expand outside that in the red, of course, and then we'll be working on getting our permits to drill outside that blue target area. And I'll go back to that because that's a key image in our property. But the Golden Hills project, it's I mean, according to Richard, it's a classic copper gold porphyry system, and he likens it to Grasberg. So that's theoretical at this point. We actually haven't tested the copper porphyry system at depth. What we do know is that there's high-grade copper gold veins which tend to leak from the porphyry centers, and we've got a number of veinlets that have perforated to the surface, and they've encountered, of course, high-grade gold and copper intercepts. So I'll just quickly go to, these are some of the historic intercepts. You've got, they're very significant, 16 meters over 2% gold, 4.5 meters of 34 grams per ton gold, 26 meters of 2.4 grams per ton. So very good thick intercepts and very high grade. But just remember, these are sort of veinlets and that we're targeting, and we've got to confirm these results, and we're drilling them now. But the property is, is covered in them. So there's potential, if we find enough of these veins for 500,000 to 1 million ounces of high-grade gold near the surface. But it would require a lot of work to identify them. But these, when we confirm these are all in oxide, and if the drill hole confirm that they end in sulfide mineralization, that gives us more evidence that we're right in thinking that there's a potentially large copper gold porphyry below them. So the shares outstanding is really tight right now. There's only 23 million shares outstanding. So I think we're at just around 20 cents per share. So it's a really tiny market cap of $4 million. Most of their shares are owned by Jag. I mean, he's the founder of the company, and he started this from seed capital, and he was lucky enough to get such an outstanding property from Richard immediately to list on the back of. So right away we're going to drill up the potential of this property. So it doesn't have a long history at all. It's only it's less than a year old. So very small share structure. Largely owned by Jag. He's got his own money and his own skin in the game, and I've never seen someone so motivated to make a success out of a project. These are some comps. So we're in the really low end. I mean, some of these comparables in the 30 to 50 million market cap range are new discoveries of vein systems. But one of these, and we have to attack the veins first because that's what we know, and then we're going to do a concept drilling program on the porphyry. But if we hit a porphyry, you're going to get a discovery sort of market cap like Free Gold Ventures listed at the top here, where it's like 300 million market cap. And when you discover a large copper porphyry, the discoveries range from 100 million to $500 million or even $1 billion market cap, because they tend to be huge, and I'll get to that. So I mean, if Richard is right and this is similar to Grasberg, then Grasberg, shown here on this slide, has 4 billion tons at 0.6% copper and 0.6 grams per ton gold, and that's like an 80 million ounce gold deposit. So that's incredibly huge, and it's the kind that Barrick, the likes of the majors want to acquire. So like last year, Barrick said that it defines tier 1 assets as assets that can produce at least 500,000 ounces per year over at least a 10-year mine life. Well, the only way you're going to find those primarily is to find 10 million ounces or so within a porphyry. So this is the sort of thing that, you know, could be something attractive to either Barrick or have another kingmaker if Richard is right and there is a large copper porphyry below. But I'll get back to the potential when I go back to the concession slide. So Jag, the founder, he's got a background like myself. He's marketing and M&A and corporate finance. Richard Kearns, our geologist, he's got a track record of success. He used to work for Homestake, Northern Mining. He's credited with discovering the Moss Mine in Arizona, and this is going to be his next big win, hopefully. Myself, my background is finance and as a mining analyst, and I've also worked on M&A transactions and financings like Jag. But another key person is Chris Zerga. He's got a background and track record of its success working with some majors like Freeport-McMoRan and Newmont Corporation, but he's mostly known for when he worked at Scorpio Gold, and that's where he met Jag as well. So if you look at the management background, we've got everything from finance, marketing, production, and exploration to our credit. And then just on this timeline, this was one of the fastest deals I've ever seen put together. Like, it started in, you know, mid last year, where we signed an option to acquire the property. And then we've completed our trenching and surface work and put a drilling program together and raised money privately. So, and we raised money privately to pre-list on the CSE, and the listing only took like 3 months. And now we're into drilling, and we've kept this timeline altogether. Drills are on the ground confirming those vein systems that have been previously drilled. So the goal is once we have reconfirmed those drilling results and analyzed the full data, then the next plan of objective would be to put a concept drilling program together on the copper porphyry. So I just want to go back to this slide, which shows our concession boundaries, because this is key. And Adam, you'll probably have some questions on it, but I didn't do this. This is Richard's map. But if you look at what this is showing here, if you look at this purple circle in the middle, that's sort of like partially on the blue private land and the red where we'll have to permit, depicts the center of a porphyry center, like the hole of a donut. And then this green line around the purple line, if that were complete, it would look like a donut, and that's the deposit model for a porphyry copper center. And these little red lines are the veinlets. So what happens is mineralization comes from the depths of the earth, and then it expands into this big, large bulk tonnage scenario 400 meters from surface, and then from that zone you'll get leakage, which forms these veins all at surface. So that green in the purple center, that's the donut that we're going to do a concept drilling program on the porphyry. And if you look at it, it's about 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers. So if that were the case, then we're looking at, you know, potentially 300 million tons. The purple zone in the center is usually lightly mineralized or not mineralized at all. The meat of it is between the green and the purple, and you could get 300 to 400 million tons on this. So, you know, if that were the case and it were like a low-grade gold deposit with copper, you might be looking at 6 to 8 million ounces of gold potentially. So, you know, in order for this to be a Grasberg, you're going to need like 10 of those porphyry centers. So obviously, if Richard is right, we're going to acquire a bunch more ground and explore, you know, for the mother lode, but the initial testing would be on that porphyry. So you can see why we get large market caps, because that one center is the type of thing that would have an NPV of $2 billion, but cost $2 billion to bring it into production. But that would alone would give it, is what Barrick and what the majors are sort of want to look for. So that's the plan. We're drilling right now. We've drilled on the historic veins, and we expect to get the drill results within a month. Half of them, or more than half, have been completed, are in assay labs now. And then we're going to use that information to obviously continue drilling the veins in the next financing, but raise enough money there to do the concept program on the porphyry center. And we'll cross our fingers for that. So that's the scoop.
Okay, you run quickly. Is the public land BLM or Forest Service?
Well, there's nothing on the Forest Service actually, so it's BLM, but it's BLM within the green success. So the green concession boundary, yes, or sorry, with the red, that's BLM ground. The blue in the very center is private. So the BLM will need to get drilling permits to attack that, but we don't require any drilling program permits to go within that blue concession area. So you can see that within that blue concession area, we can drill a number of veinlets and a big portion of the porphyry center as well. But so the permitting is not something that has to delay us. But yeah, we're going to expand the land package and we're going to get our permits for drilling. But none of this is on Forest Service land. So we don't have to go through the USFS, just the BLM.
Who holds the NSR?
Richard Kern is the property vendor and he owns the 3% NSR. So it is in friendly hands. You know, he did the same sort of deal with the Moss mine. And, you know, if this is a success, that royalty is going to be worth a lot for him.
How many meters to be drilled this year and when will results be released?
Well, I think we're doing RC holes. I think it's about 3,000 meters and about 70 to 90% have been drilled already. We've got another 20% to go, and the ones that have been drilled have been sent to assay labs, and will be about a month before we're able to report them. You know, so there might, you know, 5 to 10 holes, confirming, you know, 1 to 2 vein. We'll see, but we've actually put a press release out, and visually, although there are C holes, you know, it's just for the concept drilling right now, but visually they look like they're confirming historic results.
Okay. What's your budget for drilling the rest of 2021 and 2022?
Well, we still have to put that budget together. Right now, the company has 1.8 million in cash, as shown here. We can drill constantly on this property, and a more elaborate budget will be developed on this next financing. And the reason being is because it's going to take a few $1 million just to do a concept drilling program on the copper porphyry, but we also want to expand the land package and continue to drill on the near surface veins as well. So, you know, right now we've earmarked, you know, $500,000 for surface work and exploration, but we're going to expand that, you know, subject to reviewing these results. And right now we're looking at all the historic data on the property with the view and looking at increasing our land package as well with the view of attacking the copper porphyry. So once we have all that data together, we can fine tune what the budget will be and raise the appropriate money of funds to do that.
Do you need permission from the owners of the surface rights on the patented claims before you can drill?
Nope. It's we just need, I mean, so on the private land, we have full access to it as if we owned it privately. We don't need any permitting whatsoever. And then on the BLM land, it's just dealing with the BLM.
Okay.
you know, and that's a straightforward process. They are pro community and economic progress. So we don't expect there to be much hiccups with the BLM. Just make sure we get our permitting right.
The best that you want to answer or can answer, compare your project to that of Arizona Metals. So however you want to do that, maybe just in generalities on comps or whatever, but.
Well, I mean, look, I mean, on these comps that we put, you know, there, I would characterize this as two kind of prospects here. We've got the near surface veins, which could add up to something significantly. And then we have the concept drilling on the porphyry. Now, on the porphyry, it's still, you know, conceptual, and we want to test that. And I believe, you know, Richard believes he's right. But if we are successful in drilling the porphyry or discovering the porphyry, it's a whole new ball game for us. But at the same time, while we're looking for a porphyry, and hopefully we'll discover it on the first concept drilling program, but in the meantime, we're still drilling up these vein systems, which in total could amount to something significant. So I like to think of this as two scenarios here. We've got like a base case of some really high grade veins, which could amount to a mine in and of themselves. But if we hit so with these types of grades, it certainly would be economic. But if we hit on the porphyry, then the real comparable will be on this slide here, where you're looking at major tonnage. And Richard, when he told me he likened this to Grasberg, you know, that's where my jaw dropped. And I'm like, I looked up Grasberg, it's like 4 billion tons and 82 million ounces of gold. So, you know, we don't have that within our concession, but certainly if we're right on the one porphyry center, I mean, these are the more appropriate targets. But, you know, that's concept right now, and hopefully that will be turned into reality.
Okay. So could one conjecture that raising money might be a next step?
Well, yes. I mean, first, I mean, we need the results, and we want to confirm the historic work, and we want to look at all the historic information that we have and do some surface work as well, and compile all that information for a subsequent budget for the porphyry and for further exploration on the vein. So once we have that information, then we'll know what the budget is. But we're looking for something substantial, like, you know, $5 to $10 million, and then away we go.
Okay.
And that could come up actually fairly quickly, because if the drill results are out in a month, probably within a couple months we'll know our budget, and then we'll know the size of the next financing to attack the porphyry.
And as a side, Rodney, the numbers on your presentation in US dollars or Canadian? I assume Canadian, but.
Those are Canadian, yeah.
Okay. And any thoughts of listing at all in the United States? So probably our American friends are asking that.
Right. Sure. Well, I mean, we've just newly listed on the CSE, so we should have a pink sheet listing in no time. We're also listed in Germany, and we'll probably formalize our listing in the US after we have our pink sheet listing as a natural next step.
Gotcha.
But yes, we're definitely, we know it's a marketing world, and that's why we're here, right? And you know, definitely want to have a broad reach on multiple exchanges.
Indeed. When does your option and agreement expire?
So the option is 5 years, and it expires in 5 years. And the cash going to the vendor, Richard, is fairly minimal. So most of that $4.6 million, 90%, goes in the ground. So if we raise 4 to 5 million, whatever the budget dictates, we can probably satisfy that option agreement in a year. Other than the residual payments to the owner, which are fairly minimum. So, yeah, I mean, other than, this is, it's a really good property acquisition. 4.6 million should not be a big hurdle to put into the ground. We would expect to achieve that much sooner.
How much have you raised for this project, and how much of that has been spent in the ground?
Well, we've raised about, in total, $2 million, and there's 1.8 million left. I think there was about 2.3 total when you count the seed cash. So we've been deploying it in the ground primarily, and we still have a decent cash balance as well. So we're not going to be limited by, like, let's say the next financing takes a month or so to do. Our progress on the property won't be limited in any way before raising the subsequent funds required to drill the porphyry and continue on the veins.
All right.
So we're in good shape. Yeah, that's primarily been in the ground.
Okay.
And there's more to come.
Hey, Rodney. Just maybe following on Campbell's question, any sort of shareholders of note or that have come into the deal so far?
Shareholders of note that have come into the deal. Well, there's been a few large mining financiers. One I know personally. Some of these guys don't want to be named because they're personally in. We've got a lot. So there's a few, but I guess I can't name them.
Okay.
But we do have a lot of support from mining financiers for the subsequent financing as well out of Toronto. And there's some big names involved in that as well.
Okay. And
you'll probably see a lot more institutional interest and larger owners and investors in the subsequent financing.
Okay, that's good. And then in terms of the history on the asset, have other companies worked on the project and then abandoned it, or what's in the prior work?
Well, yeah, I mean, the prior work has been drilling on the vein system, and what happens with these porphyries typically, and usually in a bear market, because this property came out of a bear market, is when you're working on a property in the bear market, you're looking for a near-term, low-cost, near-term cash flow opportunity, and that's what the veinlets and the veins on the property give potential for. So the past work on this property has been solely focused on the low-hanging fruit, which is the near-surface veins. They're all within 100 meters of surface, and they extend vertically from surface down to 100 meters depth. So they're relatively easy to identify and drill, and they're incredibly high grade. So all the past work has been focused on identifying these veins and drilling them with the view to bring them into production in the near term. So, I mean, there's a number of copper porphyries around the world, and most of them, the work's really been done at the surface. And you need a bull market and some guys with financing ability to really test the porphyry, because once you find a porphyry, there's a lot more money that has to go in the ground. You have to be willing to do that as well, which we're in position to do. So yeah, the past work just been on these veins. So we have to reconfirm this work and then use that information to continue drilling them, and also to test the porphyry, which you can do in a publicly traded company in a bull market.
Right. So I guess so apart from the market, obviously you run out of money, you can't drill anymore. But if there's success, then there's always kind of money for you there. So I guess why did they abandon it? Was it just money? And I guess then that leads into why you think you're going to have success here, and what are you going to be doing different that others didn't do?
Well, I mean, that question is ideally asked for Richard if he was on the call right now, because he's the property vendor and he's been eyeing this property for a long time. And he knows the exact history of it and where it got to at this stage. But in my conversations with him, that's what it's essentially, that's how it's become available, is that it's only been really, I mean, no one's tested the porphyry. And in fact, this is his geological interpretation, but the focus has just been on the near surface high grade veins. You know, so you know, to bring it into production, you still need money, right? You still need money. So most of these couldn't get, you know, as a private company, couldn't finance an operating scenario, and they let it go.
Sure. And in terms of like met work that's been done, can you comment on that?
Oh yeah, good question. I actually I haven't gone over, but yes, we have done some metallurgical test work here with gravity separations showed 89.3%. So cyanide higher, but so it is good recovery. I mean, this is highly economic near surface veins. You know, but that's on the sulfides, right? And if we do hit the, that's in the oxide. So if we do hit the porphyry, that will be sulfides, and there will be more metallurgical work to do. But what we know now is historically, there's in high grade veins identified, which have really good recovery rates. So there is a scenario that we could drill up as a base case, drill up, you know, these veins and bring them into production. But if we hit the porphyry, it's a whole different ballgame.
Got it. In terms of like exploration techniques, are you using any geotechnical, and are you planning to?
Yes, of course. In order to actually put a concept drilling program on the porphyry, we do have to do the surface work required to identify the target, which includes airborne geophysics and also sampling. So we have to do that work in order to get the drill targets for the concept drilling program. And that's going to be done, of course. There, you know, RC drilling is good and can provide additional information, but you know, we're starting to do RC on the veinlets, but of course it's going to be followed up with core drilling, and the core drilling will be on the porphyry as well. Once we do the required surface work to identify the drill targets. So spare no expense on the pre-drilling, because drilling is expensive, right?
Right. So, but nothing's been done yet. Have you contracted out yet any of that stuff? Any timeline on that? Or are you waiting for the next round to do that?
We're working on doing that now. I mean, right now we're just sort of looking at all the historic data. We're confirming the historic drill hole results. And then, yes, we're going to, I don't know, like, we're not going to be able to do an airborne survey and the geophysics probably before the drill results are coming out. Like, this is moving pretty quickly, right? So, yes, we're moving quickly and efficiently as possible on that.
Okay, yeah, and just trying to get a handle of like expected news flow. So it would be the drill results, then maybe a financing, or the airborne, and then maybe a financing, and then further drilling.
Yeah, it'll probably all be concurrent.
Okay.
So yeah, there will be probably the next news will be drill results, and that we'll use that to get a better understanding of the information, and then we'll have our financing budget. So then there would be a financing while we're doing the surface work to identify the targets for the porphyry, and then drill the porphyry. We won't have to wait on permits for a number of the holes in the porphyry, but while we're drilling those ones, we'll be permitting the other desired concessions to sort of attack the whole donut. So we don't think there'll be much in the way of delay on anything here, you know, ultimately we're just constantly drilling.
Yeah, great, awesome. Just my last question before I pass over to Campbell. We're just here on the slide. I figured I'd ask it in terms of like co-products or anything deleterious in the ore. Did the historical results identify anything?
Nope. I mean, we haven't done work on the sulfides, but
Right.
so far in the oxides, no. And it's really, you expect it's going to be a copper gold porphyry. So it's going to be weighted toward, well, we expect that it will be weighted towards copper with fairly significant gold as well. But there's nothing to think that we have any reason to believe that the metallurgy won't be fine.
Okay.
At this stage.
At this stage, right, exactly. Okay, great, thanks. Campbell?
Sure. Let's go back in history, historical drilling. Who did it? Did anyone do it? Why was it furloughed or abandoned? What do you think, putting into perspective, that you're bringing differently to this that others didn't do?
These are multiple past owners who were looking for near surface gold, and you know, they probably didn't put enough together to develop a mining scenario from it. And if they didn't have the capital to bring it into production, but that was the focus in the past. So, you know, we had Richard was able to acquire this property and vend it to us. You know, he vended it to us because he knows JAG, and we can raise the money to really do what's required to test the full potential of this, and then some. So, you know, our focus is entirely different, but what we do have is enough geological evidence to, well, we know there's some historically drilled high-grade veins, you know, that we have to confirm that if they end in sulfides, it continues to confirm the geological model of there being a porphyry there, which is, you know, the main prize that we're looking for.
Excellent. Do you have offhand your German ticker?
Oh. That's a good question.
Yeah, no, you're not the first CEO to not know his Frankfurt listing, so don't hold it against you.
There you go. That's 9PZ.
Of course, rolls right off the tongue. So. Excellent. Anyway, apologies. Adam was going to be here, but he had internet capabilities problems. But he'll connect you. We'll connect you on the next one. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. On your way out, please share your feedback, and replay will be available at amvestcapital.com/webinars or /replays. And with that, I'll pass it to you, Rodney. And you know, there are a lot of juniors out there, small and prospective. Why buy now? What's it look like the next 4 months, 6 months?
Well, you know, everyone on the call here is like, we're just starting to market this now and get the story out. So everyone on the call is early on to the story. We're just newly listed, and you know, this has the you know, the home run potential that I look for in terms of you know, being something that could be a large discovery and acquired by a major. I mean, the ultimate objective would be to drill off the full potential and sell it to a major, possibly even before there's a resource estimate. So ideally, we want this to be so large that Barrick has to acquire it or become the #3 producer. So that's what's unique about this story, is that not many companies can say they have the potential to do that. It's arm waving, but you know, that's what, if Richard is right and there could be a Grasberg there, that's what our plan's going to be.
Then fantastic. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Catch the replay, share it with your friends, whatever. How do we get a hold of NSJ Gold we had more questions.
You could contact me or Jag anytime. Well, we could provide you with, well, you could go to, we'll provide you with our contact information after if anybody has interest. But we're, you could surf us on the web and find us.
You're brand new company, so we'll get it all sorted out. So
yeah,
excellent. All right, thanks everybody. Good night.
Thank you.